T, your host, and we are coming from you from the headquarters of the Tell It to the Dead fan forum. And we are going to spend the next 45 minutes discussing all things Walking Dead, including recapping our thoughts on last week's episode, Rockin' the Road, and previewing this week's episode, New Best Friends. During the discussion of tonight's upcoming episode, there will be some spoilers discussed, but we will warn you ahead of time before we start that discussion to give you an opportunity to stop listening. I know there's some people out there that don't live in the spoiler world. I don't know how you survive that, but it's your choice. So let's jump right in, and I'll kick this off by introducing you to our panelists. All are also members of the tellittothedead.com fan forum. So first we have Candy, our lovely creator of the Dead Air podcast. Welcome, Candy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. And then we're joined by Mama Grimes, who is also a moderator at tellittothedead.com. Hello, Mama.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here.
And we are also joined via chat with two other members, Luna and Forever Michonne. And I'm going to say welcome and hi for Luna and Forever Michonne. So let's go ahead and get started and open this up with our first segment, which is tea time. And I want to go ahead and get everyone's reaction to the previous episode. And I will start with Mama. And Mama, tell me, what was your favorite part from that previous episode, or favorite moments? Oh, Mama, I think you might be talking on mute.
I am. Thank you. Yeah, I'm still getting the hang of this. Technology. It's so much fun. I love the episode. It was a great way to start the second season. My favorite moments were obviously as shipper trash. I loved all the Roshone moments. Loved their co-leading. I loved Michonne calming Rick down at the hilltop with Gregory and sort of pushing him aside a little bit so she could talk, and just walking through the doorway together. I just love everything about them, and they're really setting them up as being this couple, this power couple. And of course, I think, like everybody else, the high point of the whole episode was the cars, cutting across the herd. And I mean, talk about couple goals. Give me a break. You can't get any better than those two. And then obviously in the car, when she's reassuring him, I mean, I could go on and on about that, but I'll give you guys a chance to chime in. But anything Rick and Michonne, to me, really brought the whole episode together, because this is a couple that they lead together, they love each other, and they support each other. And I just love them.
And I got to say, Mama, that episode, because I had actually typed up a post about just how beautiful that episode was, because the entire time, even in like small scenes that weren't focused on Rick and Michonne necessarily, they're like always in sync. Their mannerisms, they're always looking at each other. They're like so drawn to each other now that they're in love. They're like this great team. And that scene in the car where Rick looked like he was hyperventilating after they killed all those walkers and he was starting to lose his shit, and Michonne knew that and kind of drew him in and whispered in his ear. That scene will destroy me always to the end of time. It was just so beautiful. And Michonne is the Rick whisperer. She can calm him down and get him to a good place. And he just gets so much strength and clarity of mind through her. They're just such a beautiful relationship. We could do an entire podcast just talking about them. Candy, what about you? What was your favorite moment, or did Mama and I jump on your favorite moment?
Actually, my favorite moment was during the Ezekiel scene with Rick, and it's when Michonne moves down and stands by Rick and talks to Ezekiel. I think it shows Michonne physically moving into their role of co-leader. And I also like the fact that she spoke we usually see Michonne in scenes and she doesn't speak. She's in the background, hardly says a word, but every scene she was in, she spoke, and her words had meaning. It wasn't just throwaway dialogue. And I really appreciate them showing a little bit more of her point of view. I feel like she's the co-leader now. I knew she was, but now it's like a feeling. Hey, she's here, she's important, she has something to say, and we're going to let her say it. So that was my favorite moment.
And I do appreciate that because I've noticed it's been a progression for Michonne in speaking up and being a leader. But when you go back to the second half of season 5 and The Distance, where she took a stand and she told everybody we were going to go to Alexandria, including Rick, and they all listened and went there. When she speaks, and that's what I like about her. She's just not she's not Negan. She's not always talking to hear herself talk and not having anything of importance to say. When she has to speak, it's important. People are going to listen, and they're normally going to do what she says. And I love that about Michonne. And I'm glad we're seeing more of that.
I also like Gregory. He's a douche, but he's a likable douche.
I love Gregory too. He's giving us some of that comedy we lost from when Abe died. So even though he's a complete asshole and he's not Team Family, I enjoyed him during that whole scene where he was calling Rick Ricky, Maggie Margaret, and then the whole rhetorical thing. That was great. And I did actually have my most favorite Negan scene in that episode. I loved his eulogy to Fat Joey. That was like hilarious.
Yeah, I think Negan being heard and not seen is really pretty awesome, and I think they should do more of that because I loved it. I thought the humor was great, and I thought it was a good point to put it in the scene, and so they should do more of that. Hear them, don't see them.
I agree. And I believe we also had Kat join us. So Kat, if you're there, could you let us know what your favorite moment is before I move on to the chat?
Yeah, hey, I literally just got to my hotel. Yeah, my favorite moment was, again, in the Kingdom when they were in Zeke's throne room and Michonne saw Shiva. Because that was awesome. She's like, everyone else is like, what the hell is this? And she's like, oh my God, it's a cat. That was it. She didn't even say anything. She just smiled and I loved it.
She was great. She actually smiled a lot in that episode and was excited by, like after her and Rick had just killed all those walkers, she's like smiling from ear to ear, excited that they just killed over 300 walkers and Rick's over in the corner practically dying. It was just so funny.
She's a adrenaline.
Yeah, she was like pumped the whole episode.
She's an adrenaline junkie. She like feeds off of it. And we kind of saw that in season 3, when she was at Woodbury and she was killing all the walkers and she was smiling while doing it. Any reason that Michonne smiles is a good reason.
That's because she's bad. She's a badass. So I'm going to move to our chat. So Luna's favorite moment was, seeing everyone together again. And I will agree with Luna there. It was nice having an episode where Team Family was back together after, everybody being separated the entire time for the first half of the season. Of course, Luna loved the Roshon's stuff and things. And Ezekiel's moment with Benjamin and Henry. Yeah, that was really sweet where he was telling the bedtime story and it was about Martin Luther King Jr. So that was a very sweet moment. And Luna also said everyone's reactions to Shiva versus Michonne's reaction. And Sasha's face. Sasha had the best face when she was like looking at Ezekiel and looking at Shiva. That was just, her face was so great. And let's see. So forever, besides the Roshone kills and quiet moments, was Sasha's reaction to Shiva. She also enjoyed Rosita for the messy reactions. She was a hothead, but it really made me react, although negatively. And she's becoming a character I love to side-eye. And forever, I'm actually saving Rosita for my least favorite moments. So, and that's a great, you know how I love my segues. That's a great segue into, let's everyone discuss what was your least favorite moments from the episode. So, Kat, I'll start with you. What was your least favorite moment from last week's episode?
That would be Daryl being all like, "Some king you are" to Zeke, because I hate Daryl, one, so I'm always gonna hate anything he does. But in particular that, because like Ezekiel just got through explaining that he does all this for his people to keep them alive, and then Daryl's questioning his legitimacy as a king because he happens to not agree with how he's dealing with the Saviors. Like, what does that have to do with whether or not Zeke's a king? I could probably say more, but I talked the ear off of some of my friends that don't even watch the show the other day about it. So I think I got that all out of my system. But still, that just pissed me off.
I loved my favorite part. Yeah, Daryl was kind of like annoying and making comments that weren't necessary, but I loved the shade when Rick told him, or you could stare him into submission. Because we know Daryl no longer talks, or he just grunts. Like, I laughed at that line so hard. Was just, and then also just Rick leaving him at the kingdom like a sad little puppy. And like,
dude, right? And then Daryl was gonna go back. Like, you just escaped. Obviously, they're gonna look for you. Like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go back to Alexandria. No, you stupid idiot.
I kind of wish he went back. If he went back, he would be dead right now.
No, they probably would have killed someone else.
Yeah, that's.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
They never kill who we want dead, so.
Like, they would kill someone else, and they take Daryl back, and he try to escape again, and then he go back to Alexandria, and then the whole cycle continues because he never learns.
Right.
And Candy, your least favorite moment?
That was actually my least favorite moment. Was Daryl trying to come at Ezekiel, and then wasn't even grateful. Like, Ezekiel didn't have to say, "Hey, you can stay here." I wouldn't let Daryl stay there. Just from the smell alone, I wouldn't want him anywhere near me. So,
especially after, you know, he told Ezekiel pretty much that Ezekiel wasn't Elkine. I'm forever saying Hang, like Rick. Hang, never King. So
this
yeah,
episode was written by Angela Kang.
Yeah.
And another moment was Rosita being a bomb expert. I think of all the people, Jesus probably would have been a good bomb expert, and I kind of wish they would have gave that to him.
Oh, that bothered me. I'm like, when did Rosita become MacGyver? Like, she's over there lifting stuff, Rick's telling people how to hold things. It was like, I'm actually happy that I would never think I would be happy for Greg Nicotero, but he's the one that came up with the idea to have Rick and Michonne with the cars and then taking out the over 300 walkers, because that scene was originally supposed to end with Rosita just taking a stick of dynamite and throwing it in the walkers, so she would have got all those kills in that badass moment, kind of like how Daryl stole the RPG from Abe. So I'm so happy Nick Cotero came through for us, because the alternative just would have been ugh.
Like, oh yeah, you blew that stuff up. That's exciting.
I know. It really would have been lame compared to what we currently have. So I'm very excited about that. And that was probably my least favorite moment, honestly, too, was just Rosita and how nasty she was to Sasha. Sasha did not cheat. Sasha never cheated on her with Abe. Abe broke up with Rosita badly, but he broke up with Rosita before he ever got with Sasha. So the fact that Rosita is being crabby like this to Sasha and everyone else, I'm not even sure how much now Rosita's anger is actually anger over the death of Abe and how much it is about her pride being wounded because she was left for another woman. Like, I don't know. Like, my Rosita hate is rising with every episode, and I'd love to see her act crazy and say something crazy to Michonne or step to Michonne, because that would be squashed with a fury.
I think Rick and Michonne will probably have to address Rosita at some point because she's snapping at everyone. I think it's going to cost them something, and it's going to be a little too late.
I think they should have been addressing like the 3 people that ran off and tried to punch or kill Negan. Like, it's ridiculous that they haven't.
Yeah, because Carl
That's
hasn't been
not
dealt with.
okay. Especially Carl. He's their kid. Goddamn.
Well, and here's the thing, if you think about it strategically, they're going on a mission to find allies, right? And you would think you would want to bring your most level-headed, diplomatic people with you. And who do they have with them? Rosita, who caused the death of Olivia, and Daryl. We know what Daryl did. And they're both continuing to be hotheads. So it's just stupid. I loathe the fact that they're with them while Daryl's left behind now.
Yeah, Aaron should have been.
And Mama, our poor bench is kind of depleted at the moment of good people, because at this point we know we're in trouble whenever Tobin and Eric have reached the level of squad. This is where we're at right now. The B team.
Oh.
So, Mama, what was your least favorite moment from the episode?
Yeah, I would agree with what you guys have all said. To be honest with you, any Daryl, Rosita, bad-tempered line it really took me out of the episode, because I felt like they're purposely being written to be this over-the-top, cranky, petulant children. I don't know why. I don't know what the end game is. But for Rosita to be such a bitch like that to Sasha, where the very previous episode, they shared that little nod like, yeah, we're going to be okay. And then 2 hours later, she's biting her head off. And then Daryl just got out of quasi-torture with Negan. You would think he'd be a little bit, I don't know, grateful. It's something other than just his normal bitchy self. And so those were just all my bad moments were with the two of them. So I really hope they do become a couple and they go off on a long, long walkabout together, like 2-year long walkabout, go, be gone, and just get off my screen, please.
No, they have caused a lot of, I'll be kind of nice to them and say collateral damage. And the way they're being nasty and treating other people when they actually should be asking for forgiveness is just... it rubs me wrong. So
yeah, and with Rosita, Gabriel just counseled her. What is it in the showtime? Like a day or two earlier? I can lose track. The show moves so slowly. But he was just counseling her, and she was jumping that he's stealing their stuff. I can't with her.
I know. And so actually, Luna agrees in chat. She agrees that Rosina is probably her least favorite, and along with the swipe at Sasha. And, that really was uncalled for, because we had just previously saw like her and Sasha, I guess, kind of have a sweet moment where they kind of smiled at each other during the mid-season finale. So you kind of got the impression that maybe they were going to bury the hatchet or whatever, get along. And then you could tell Sasha was just trying to make some small talk, and Rosita just bitch slapped her. It was awful.
Yeah, I think that would have sit better with me if there wasn't the whole exchange before where they were, gonna, I don't know, be civil at least, and they hadn't just talked smack about Gregory. And then if Rosita just hadn't gotten Olivia killed, then I think I would be more sympathetic to her anger. But right now, I'm just like, you just got somebody killed, and you're still gonna just keep blowing your head off. I was just like, calm the fuck down. It's not fun. It's not cute. No sympathy. That's pretty much where I draw the line with like, oh, shitty stuff happened to me and now I'm mad all the time, is when you're getting other people hurt or killed with your actions. Like, okay, I don't care anymore. Just get over yourself.
And she was nasty, and Luna brought up the fact that, Rosita was also like really nasty to Morgan in that scene, you know, at the kingdom. And because he cares about those people too. Of course he's going to be upset that they died, that Glenn and Abe died. He wouldn't have treated that like a "I told you so" moment, and she jumped on him. Even though I did kind of not stop feeling bad for him when he totally sabotaged any chance that Rick and Michonne had of you know, Ezekiel joining them. And I love Rick and Michonne's reaction. They even side-eyed and closed their eyes simultaneously, shook their head together. They even are disgusted together. Can they not be more perfect? Like, that scene was just so great. It was like you could tell when Morgan opened his mouth, they both were like, "Oh shit, we're done." God damn it, shut up, Morgan. You know, it was such a great little moment between them. I loved it. So then Forever Michonne disliked her poor man Gabe being distressed in the opening scene. And she's guessing that he gets involved with some people trying to offer help and got held hostage. And also she agrees with Luna on Morgan. And she feels like so many characters are now treating Morgan like a punching bag. And I just treated Morgan like a punching bag. Sorry, Forever, but she deserved that side eye and exasperation. She said it's okay.
Yeah, it's like I love Morgan and I even like his arc, but I just do not agree with his philosophy. Even if I understand why he adheres to it, it's like, sorry, man, it's just bigger than you.
Yeah, I think they're definitely setting up Morgan because it's almost stretching it a little bit with how he's still adhering to his ways in the wake of Abe and Glenn and everybody else being killed. I think they're setting him up for a big turnaround, you know, for the end of the season. They're stretching this out because it's for the plot. I mean, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense for Morgan to be sticking to his guns like this, considering the murders that Negan's committed to people that he's close to.
Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
I agree, Mama.
I think it does make a kind of sense. Like he's understanding that his philosophy is wrong. I think it's entirely him being worried about going too far and going back and see that clear mindset, the here's not here mindset where he was just killing everything. So I think that's why he relates to Carol so much, is he's afraid of just turning into this killing machine again. So
Well, he's like an addict, right? And he's afraid
Yeah.
of falling off the wagon. I get it. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. So he finally killed again, and then he felt that, and now he's pulling back again. So from a personal arc standpoint, it makes sense to me, but it's still just about what's right for him and not what needs to be done. So.
And I also think he probably, Mama, if he was in that lineup and saw what happened to Glenn and Abe, I think his mantra would have gone out of the window if he actually had witnessed the brutality.
Yeah, I agree. And the pleasure that Negan took out of it too. I think if he
Yeah.
saw the pleasure that Negan was experiencing, I think his mind would have been changed. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's one thing to just hear, oh, they were murdered, and it's another thing to see how Negan went about it. That wasn't just, oh, I gotta kill these people. That was sadistic.
But I will say this episode, I really felt with this episode that The Walking Dead we all love is back after the first half of the season. I really love this episode, and I thought the hour just flew by. It was so much action. It was moving the story along, and there was a lot of sweet, sweet Michonne moments. I got to tell you, I never expected Canon to be so beautiful. Like, Denai and Andy put so many like nice little touches in their scenes now that they're a couple. Like, I'm not going to make it out of 7 alive. I know it.
We're gonna die together. Well, they better have Wi-Fi in heaven. That's all I can say.
I really feel like we're just going to need to have, we've all had our own obituaries written. I feel we might just need to tell it to the dead entire forum obit because we're all just
It's
For the
gonna be a
entire group.
graveyard.
Yep.
yeah. When you go to the landing page of the forum, it's going to have our obituary. Thank you for coming. There's no one here to post or respond to your post because we're all dead and we're shown heaven. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, we're all dead, so you can tell it to the dead.
The dead.
Oh my God! Full
Stand her
circle. Cat, that's some circle of life stuff right there. Full circle. I love it. All right. So we're going to go ahead and then jump into our next segment, which is Would You Rather? This is inspired by one of our forum members, Silas. It will nowhere near be as ugly or nasty as Silas would have it. This is going to be an actual happy version. So, and because we're all things Rick and Michonne, we're diehard Michonne fans, we're shippers and proud of it. This Would You Rather is all about them. So, as you know, in the early days when we were shipping Michonne, there was numerous times where they would always get interrupted, and you would think if they were just left alone, something was going to go down. So, if you could pick which scene would not get interrupted between Rick and Michonne, would you rather pick the lovely little campfire scene when they were eating that scrawny rabbit, or the porch scene in Thank You? I'm going to actually throw another scene in as an option, or when they in Claim, when they found that house in Claim. I swear, if they would have been left alone by the claimers, a Roshon baby might have been made in that house. They were that close, I'm telling you, if they left them alone. So, Mama, if you had a scene to pick where they were actually left in peace and not interrupted, which scene would you take?
Oh, that's a hard one. I wouldn't pick the porch scene where Deanna interrupted them because I don't know, even though Rick did the elevator look, I don't know that he was quite in the right headspace to
He was
focus
still
on
kind of crazy Rick.
He was a little bit crazy Rick. So I always love the campfire scene. I'm actually working on a fanfic, free plug for Mama Grimes fanfic, working on a fanfic like what if they had more feelings for each other on the road. And that campfire scene, I always loved it because they were so comfortable with each other and so at ease, even though they're on the road, they're out in the open. I would have loved to have seen that keep going. Not that it would have turned into a love scene, obviously, the timing wasn't right, but if we could have seen more moments like that with their relationship getting stronger and stronger, I would have loved to have seen more of those quiet moments, without assholes interrupting them, threatening their lives. So yeah, I would vote for that one.
And they were, so that was really the second half of season 4 is when they started that new focus of splitting the group up and focusing on different people in different episodes. So Roshon had all these little small moments like the sharing of the candy bar and Rick smiling. Like they had started to have all these sweet little family moments.
Yes.
And you could see they were building up to something. That's why, once again, when Jesse came along, it was such a blind side because they had been building all this momentum towards him. Candy, what scene would you pick?
I like the campfire for the simple reason that Rick wanted to know more about Michonne. He was asking her, like, well, all we talk about is food. I want to talk about something else. And you kind of see that in the next and Strangers, where he's talking to her about her katana and all that. And I just think that was Rick's way of just trying to be closer, trying to understand her a little better. And I do like the Claimed. I do wish we would have seen something happen in Claimed. At least one episode where they stayed at the house. Like a bottle episode with them just in the house. If we can get a bottle episode of Daryl and Beth at a funeral home, we should have got a bottle episode of Rashawn at the Claimer's house.
We really could have. If I had to sit there and watch him eat peanut butter and pig feet with his fingers, and Beth drank her glass of alcohol, which was moonshine like water, I should have gotten a Rashawn bottle episode, which it looks like we could quasi get one soon, which we'll be talking about in the next segment. But anyway, I know I joked about them having sex if they were allowed to stay in the claim house, but as you all know, I go 0 to 100, and when isn't sex not a bad thing? So, but I do think if Rick would have had a chance to heal, they would have had a lot more moments like that. I just feel like if they weren't interrupted in claim, they may have become a couple even faster, or that realization, I think, would have hit them sooner, than it did in the next world. How about you, Kat?
Yeah, between all of them, I still have a certain fondness for the campfire scene for a bunch of the reasons that Candy listed. We've talked about that scene a lot in the bunker, actually. Although sometimes I kind of go back and forth on whether they would have gone canon before a bunch of the other stuff that's just happened in the later seasons. I think they might have, but it definitely would have been a different relationship if they hadn't experienced everything that they had, if they weren't in Alexandria. Because this is different than being with a community that's safe from with walls and stuff, and there's other people, and then if they were in that house, it'd just be them. It wouldn't be quite as safe as a community with walls. So it would be a different relationship, and they'd only have themselves. They wouldn't have other people to look out for. And then Michonne and Rick, they still had all the other stuff they were dealing with that they eventually dealt with throughout later seasons. So I like where they went canon, and I think it's interesting to explore how they might have been different. How it might have been different if they'd gone canon, like at the campfire scene or in the Claimer's house. I just feel like it would be they'd have a really different relationship if they'd gone canon earlier.
Yeah, and actually, and that's one of we're going to segue once again into my petty feature on what gripes I may have. And one of those things is we were just talking about all the lovely moments that built up for Rick and Michonne, and then to have Jesse practically shoehorned in there. Like, they actually had to kind of drop Rick and Michonne some of their moments because the instant quasi-attraction, I guess you could say, that Rick had to Jesse kind of made no sense after you watched 2 or 3 seasons of Rick and Michonne being built up. And that's kind of one of my issues, my big issues with the show is they take these huge comic moments, and Jessie was introduced as a character strictly so Rick could chop her arm off in the herd scene. And for these big comic moments, they kind of slaughter character development and other storylines that had been going on for seasons just to get to that one moment, and that's always kind of irked me. And that's the one part, I think that's the only thing that I'm not pleased about when it comes to Rick and Michonne's relationship. Everything else is great. It's just that one little blip on the radar that is Jesse that drives me insane.
Yeah, and they really had to remove Michonne specifically from spaces she would have been at normally. Like it wasn't about Rashawn, but it was because it was obviously influenced by whatever Rick was doing with the whole Jesse thing. But like at the party, you would expect you would have seen more of Michonne trying at the party, but instead all you get is her wearing a terrible dress and staying out on the porch, and Rick's not looking for her, and you don't know what. Like, that's all you get from Michonne, she wanted this community, and she's just gonna stand out on the porch and be like, I tried, I have a dress.
And get drunk with Abe, and that dress, the disservice of that dress, Lord, I will never forget that ugly ass dress. Never.
Yeah, that whole arc was a rare moment when I actually liked the comics more, and I was just like, "Wow, how did it fall so far that I prefer the comic version of this?"
Yeah, it was really weird how they, I mean, obviously we all hated that arc for different reasons, but if you think about how they were in the distance together, Rick and Michonne, and how in tune to Rick Michonne was, and when she, held his hand as they approached the gate, I mean, she was so close to him and so in tune with him and so positive that that was the best place for them to go to. And then once they get into the gates, I mean, they have the great scene with he was counting the minutes, she was brushing her teeth. They have the scene at the window, and then nothing. They're going their separate ways with no explanation other than Michonne was quote unquote asleep or whatever. And it was really tough. I mean, they made it really, really hard for us to, enjoy the show because they just acted again so out of character. I mean, Rick was off the rails, but even Michonne, I mean, for someone that was so close to Rick, they had to remove her. You're right. I mean, like Kat said, they had to get her out of that orbit because they wanted her to have no part of that storyline.
But they also
yeah,
had Rick not paying attention to Michonne Mama, which didn't make sense
right.
because we just had that episode, I don't know, 3 or 4 episodes before, What's Happening, What's Going On, when Tyrese died. That whole entire episode was Rick watching Michonne.
Yep.
Struggle with this, and he was so in tune with it, kept checking on her, the little 2-finger touches, and then he decided to take the entire group to Washington, D.C. because that's what Michonne wanted. Didn't check with anybody, and then so they both were so close and looking out for each other, and then it's just they get to this nice place in civilization, and all of that just goes away. It's just
it was tough.
Yeah, it's like they were dealing with their trauma or whatever in different ways, but it was just weird that they didn't seem to notice each other until Rick totally loses it. Just like they're so close, and then without explanation, they just kind of fade off. It was like, what? And I could understand Michonne's go-to is to kind of disappear into herself, and like being quote unquote asleep is kind of like when she quote unquote dies and travels around with walkers and whatever. But it's just so weird that all of a sudden, without explanation, they are just not looking out for each other anymore.
It was
They didn't really explain it. They didn't like talk to each other like, oh man, we were out of sync or something. The only thing they had was, Rick admitting that he'd been lying. And so maybe the reason they weren't hanging out is because Rick was avoiding her because he lied. But we don't see scenes of him just like purposely looking, oh man, Michonne's here. I better leave so that I don't spill the beans about the gun plot. It's just like, they're just not talking to each other now.
Yeah, there was a lot of little loopholes like that, but thank goodness we've passed all of that, and we have this great couple who, I mean, the writing for them really has been stellar, and I'm excited about where they go in the future and what this war with Negan will look like since they're now a team. And I'm going to warn everybody, we're going into the segment where we're going to start talking about this week's episode. And we will probably drop a few spoilers, so you probably want to drop off. But we're going to first discuss Rashon's spoilers. And I know some of my spoiling people don't mind Rashon's spoilers. So there is actually a canon couple who is having a lot of little sweet moments in this episode. And one of the things that we all practically died is Rick is going to give Michonne in this episode a cat. If everybody remembers the rainbow cat from 3 that she found with Carl when they went into that bar so that Carl could get a picture of his family so that he could have it for Judith, she got a cat. We all assumed that cat perished during the governor's raid of the prison. So apparently, Rick, being the stellar boyfriend that he is, after having a crappy day at the Thunderdome fighting Spiky Walker,
The toilet dome.
he gets his girl a cat. This is squee-worthy, guys. I mean, the excitement level we all have for this, like, I can't wait to see how this all plays out. How do you guys think this is going to go down?
it might be the best moment of my life. Just saying.
You did spoil it last week.
I've totally been waiting for something like this since Clear aired, and Michonne getting that cat is the moment that I caught feelings and fell head over heels for her, because she's just so adorable when she like takes it out, and she's just so funny. And then it shows like this other side of her that's like into art and probably cats, and I'm a cat person. And I just love that cat so much, because like this small thing adds so much dimension to her character. And then from a Roshone perspective, it shows that Rick's like noticed this about her. He either noticed at Clear, or he noticed while she was like staying at the prison and it was in her cell, even before they were anywhere in the ballpark of becoming a couple.
I have to say, it fell into my head canon, Big Cat, because I was always one of those people that I didn't think Rick was like physically attracted to her, like, oh, she's hot, I want to sleep with her, or anything like that when he first met her in season 3 at the gate, because I know he just lost Lori. But I thought that the way they played that gate scene, there was a connection between those two, something that neither one could explain, but they knew they were drawn to the other and they had to be in each other's orbit. And the fact that he's giving her this cat just shows that even in season 3, when Rick was still kind of slightly antagonistic, still riding the crazy train sometimes, he was always focused, paying attention to what Michonne was doing. And that just excites me so much, because for many people, they thought the relationship was kind of one-sided. But Rick has always paid attention, looked after, cared about Michonne, and the whole gift of this cat just shows that.
Well, and it's not only that he was paying attention to her. I mean, he's probably been observing every single thing about her since he met her. But think about it. The guy just fought for his life. Well, these are spoilers. He's going to get stabbed in the hand by this armored walker named Winslow. He was fighting for his life, fighting for the life of his community. And he gets her a present. I mean, if that's not love and, hey, baby, I was thinking of you. I mean, our husbands and boyfriends go to the florist or go to the candy shop. This guy, he gets her a gift after fighting this thing, and almost dying. But he's thinking of her. She's always on his mind. And that is pure love. And I'm just over the moon. Love this couple.
Boyfriend, husband goals to the extreme.
Yes.
Like, he's just too perfect, and Rick is just ruining everything for all other men. If you can't be Rick Grimes,
why bother?
I know he's perfect.
Ruining things for me too makes me look bad. Damn, I can't compete with Rick.
Might as well hang it up.
He's an asshole like, Mish, you can hang with me instead of that asshole, but now he's being all good and perfect and shit. Damn.
Well, one of the other preview clips we got that AMC likes to release before the episode airs was Rick, Michonne, and the other members of Team Family walking into and meeting the Junkyard Dog kids. There's so many names for them. Going into the Garbage Pail Kids, going into the Thunderdome, where, like Mama mentioned, where Rick's going to have to fight Spiky Walker. That scene, I actually can't wait for it. It looks really exciting. There are so many of them, and there's so many weapons. It's kind of weird, because when I saw that scene, once again, Mom, I'm thinking to myself, how did the Alexandrians survive so long if they were near all these different badass groups and they were able to live for over a year undiscovered and rarely died unless they did like stupid stuff on runs where somebody got killed? Like, that is just amazing to me that they lived that long.
Agreed. It's plot convenience, nothing more than that.
I think it has something to do with the burnt houses that's outside of Alexandria. I think it kind of hides them. Some people are like, well, the whole neighborhood is burnt. Ain't no use going down there seeing anything. So I think that's probably it. My problem is why haven't they planted anything before Rick and his group got there?
It's kind of funny because it was like when Rick and his group got there, it was like they brought all the bad. Like that's when everything went to hell as soon as they got there. They had their herd, the wolves came. Like it was just one thing after the other. It was like Rick's group was the harbinger of death.
Well, I mean, Aiden did say they always used to, lose people on runs, and they were trying to torture that walker or whatever because we killed our friends. So maybe things weren't quite so hunky-dory in Alexandria. It just got worse as the apocalypse went on and Team Family showed up, and then the plot happened. So maybe Alexandria should have thought about avoiding being on this show. That's what I think.
All right. Does anybody else have anything else they're looking forward to with tonight's episode?
I don't think so. There's nothing else really going on, is there? Tonight, there's the cat.
There's
what?
It's so supposedly there's another potential couple. Carol and Daryl are going to be reunited after I don't know how many episodes they've been apart. There's been talk of them going canon, even though there's been no spoilers to support that. But we shall see. I can't even fake excitement on this. I can't even fake it. But they're going to have their moment. So for those fans that are Carol and Daryl fans, they're going to get together after, they're going to reunite. And then guess what? I'm giving you a spoiler. They're going to separate again. Daryl's going to leave her at the creepy house, and he's going to go on about his business. And then they probably won't see each other for the remainder of the season.
I am excited about seeing Shiva this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like Shiva.
And I think Daryl has a tender moment with Shiva, right? He has a nice,
I don't like that moment.
sweet moment.
It's not the moment I wanted.
Candy, what was the moment you wanted?
I kind of wanted Shiva to swipe at him or something. Do something.
I wanted Swan. Oh, Swan just popped in from Red Robin after she blew us off for the podcast.
That's trash. I'll be back next week.
Sure.
All right, Swan.
And
So,
I can
all right.
throw carolers a bone. So just Google Tanabata lovers and apply that to Carol. You're welcome.
Wait, Google what, Cat?
Tanabata lovers. Tanabata.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, this will wrap up our second podcast, ladies. I think we cleaned it up, and I hope it was an improvement over last week. I also want to thank our listeners. We had over 120 views, I believe, for our premiere podcast, and I'm shocked that many people wanted to listen to us, but hey, we're funny and witty. So join us again. We're not going to have a podcast next week, but we will be coming back for 712's episode, which, spoiler alert, is pretty close to Rashone-centric as you're going to get. There's going to be a lot of excitement from this group of shipping fans.
Will there be a podcast, or are we all just going to be dead?
Well, this will be before 712, Kat. After we'll be dead, right? RMT, is this going to be?
Right.
Yeah,
so
before, yeah.
Before, and then the podcast following 712 will take place from heaven.
Correct.
Because heaven has Wi-Fi, according to Mom.
Yes, the Tell It to the Dead will have our new headquarters in heaven with very good Wi-Fi. Yep.
Now, there may be some other members who trying to get into heaven that might not get into it, but
Yeah, I won't be there, but that's okay.
But thanks everybody for joining us. Until next time. And don't forget, if you want to continue discussing The Walking Dead with these lovely ladies, and we also have a bunch of other fun forum members, you can follow us on tellittothedead.com. We cover all things Walking Dead, not just Rashone. We welcome everyone. So, thanks again.